In this episode, we are taking you on a day trip from Como on Lake Como to Lugano, Switzerland on Lake Lugano, then to Bellagio and back on a lake cruise to Como. We tell you about the crazy, anxiety-inducing bus trip to get to Switzerland, plus one of the craziest things we've ever seen on a road. Lake Lugano was utterly gorgeous, and I share our walk around the lake to the beach area where I made Lyle see how cold the water was. And Lyle is pretty proud of himself because he shares a very interesting fact he found about Lugano. Next, we go back into Italy and catch a ferry on the narrowest part of Lake Como to Bellagio. We share why this is everyone's favourite place on Lake Como and how we managed to snag a great spot for lunch right on the lake, even with all the crowds, and we give you a tip as to how you can do this too. Lastly, we take a ferry ride all the way from Bellagio, zigzagging our way slowly back to Como. We tell you all about the towns we stop at and, of course, some of the famous villas we see on the way. Keep listening to the end to find out which is the fancy hotel close to Bellagio that the rich and famous stay at and how much the Russian oligarch's villa is on the market for, just in case you're in the market for your own Lake Como villa. Make sure to click on the link in the podcast description to the show notes so you can see the pictures, because you'll really want to see them, trust me, and link to the trip that we took which accompanied this episode. You will want to see the pictures and our lunch spot in Bellagio. And if you know someone planning a trip to Italy, please share our podcast series all about Italy by sharing the link to our Italy page on our website at www.beachtravelwine.com/Italy. Cheers! And welcome to the Beach Travel Wine podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Leanne.
And I'm Lyle, and this is the travel podcast for beach-loving, wine-drinking couples over 50.
So if that sounds like you, grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax and listen as we go travelling the world, one wine at a time.
Cheers.
Buongiorno. Ciao.
Ciao, baby.
I knew that was coming. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Pretty good.
Lyle, before we get started, I just want to say to our listeners, if there is some background noise today, we are sorry. There's nothing we can do about that. Our podcast studio today is in the beautiful city of Florence, but we're not podcasting about that. That'll be a further one. But it's a noisy little apartment, and we've got everything shut up, and we've done everything we can, and it's noisy from sun up till sun up.
Yeah.
So, we apologise if there's any noise in the background. Just can take it as atmosphere, yeah?
Sure.
It's what we've got. It's what we're listening to in Italy, so you may as well join us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But today we are talking about a beautiful, beautiful part of Italy that we did a day trip in northern Italy when we were in Como. And today's podcast is about the day trip we took from Como to Lugano on Lake Lugano in Switzerland. Yes, we crossed the border to Bellagio and then a cruise back down through over Lake Como back to Como.
Correct.
Yeah. So for those that are a bit ignorant like me, Lake Como is actually obviously the lake, and Como is the name of the main city on the lake, and so the two are different. Yeah.
Sure.
Now, the interesting thing about this day trip was I only booked it the day before we went. We arrived on the Monday and I booked it and for the Tuesday, and I was pretty happy to be able to do that because, I didn't realise that, well, I was hoping that we'd be able to, but and it was. So, and I was pretty excited about actually going to Lake Lugano. So, yeah, being able to book it the day before. So not everything's booked out. We're going to tell you a bit about that in a little while. But, however, there was a bit of a problem with it, wasn't there?
Yeah. Look, the tour was supposed to start at 9 o'clock, but Leanne got an email the night before to say that we weren't meeting till 10 o'clock.
With no reason, just, and that was okay. Like, it was everyone who was on the tour got the same message.
Sure. But it was about 10:15 when the tour leader arrived and led us to another Piazza. It was called Piazza a Volta.
Yeah, so we were supposed to meet in Piazza Cavour, which is right in the middle of Como on the lake. And yeah, we're all sort of standing around looking at each other thinking, are you on the tour? How come, we couldn't quite find the lady? And as you said, she turned up late and then took us probably 2 blocks maybe to that, Piazza Volta.
Now, Piazza Volta. Now, why was Piazza Volta important?
Well, there's a statue there of a guy whose surname was Volta, which he was apparently the guy who invented batteries.
That's 1 out of 1. Well done. So yes, so he was pretty important. But anyway, so we eventually got there, and as Leanne said, we walked a couple of blocks, and there was.
And then we had to wait then because the problem was, what had happened was, this day trip we're doing is exactly the same day trip that people can do from Milan.
Correct.
Right? And so there was a group from Milan who obviously left earlier and arrived in Como, and we joined up with them because our tour guide, or their tour guide, one of them, I think it was ours because the lady who was with us, Alexandra,
yes,
she came from Milan. Our tour guide couldn't make it, so rather than cancel the tour, they joined 2 tours together, which added a whole lot of different logistical things to it. However, I'm glad they did that. So
yeah. Otherwise, we would have missed out probably.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then we had to walk again to where the coach was parked, which was a fair distance, to be honest.
Yes.
And there was one lady, Anita. She was from London. She was lovely. She was 91.
Yeah.
And she struggled to keep up because Alexandra was actually walked quite quickly.
Yes.
And even I felt, hang on, slow down a bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got there. But the complaints did start around, when we got to the coach. Anita's son, Mark, who Leanne eventually got to chat with, he sort of said to the lady, hang on, come on, my mum's 91. But anyway, we got on the bus.
But all that extra walking was because the 2 tours were combined. That was the thing. If we'd have been picked up in the right spot in Piazza Cavour, there was a bus stop there.
Oh, that's true.
So yeah, it was just one of those things that you have to be flexible, and but the walking was a bit of an issue for some people. So
the coach itself, well, it was pretty nice, to be honest.
We snagged the front seat.
We did. I think it was because Leanne Lee pushed another lady out of the way to get that.
That was on the train, but that's another story.
But the trip, although only 33.3 kilometres or 45 minutes to Lugano, it was a little bit hairy. Lugano. Sorry.
Yes.
Lugano is the wine. Lugano is the place. It was a bit hairy.
Yeah.
The streets are quite thin as you drive from Italy into Switzerland. There are borders. There is a border check.
So you had to take your passports just in case.
Yeah, so make sure if you do any of these sort of tours from Italy into Switzerland, make sure you take your border, although it is a bit like a lottery whether or not they actually get on the bus.
Sure, and most often they don't, but you don't want to be the day that you don't have it. So what we're saying is that the day trip starts in Como or Milan, and you hop on a bus and we're off to Switzerland, the little village, well, it's not that little, of Lugano. So you want to tell us a little bit about...
Well, I just want to tell the guys about the fact that if you don't want to, I suppose, make the expense of going on a tour, you can get to Lugano
by train.
Yeah. There's a direct train from Como to Lugano, which takes around 34 minutes on the fastest service. There are 41 direct trains from Lugano to Como daily, which I'm assuming, that's both ways. One-way train tickets are from about €10.30 when you book in advance. So you can get there. I'm not sure exactly where the train, well, obviously the train stops at the railway station, but where the actual railway station is.
Compared
to
the town.
And the last train from Lugano to Como is at 9:30 p.m. So you have a good day there.
So it's not, it doesn't take that long, so that's to get the train, so you could go and have an explore on your own. And I imagine the train also then would maybe go on to Milan, but I don't know. I can't say that for certain, but that's maybe something that people could look at as well.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so Lugano was, after a bit of, a few tunnels we went through and the windy roads and things, it was like a little wow, wasn't it?
Oh, Lugano is absolutely stunning. I mean, stunning.
Yeah, really beautiful. Before I try and tell everyone just how beautiful Lugano is, do you want to tell us a little bit about the city, the area?
Yeah, okay. So the Lugano area of Switzerland is the warmest, obviously, in Switzerland.
Because it's at the...
Yeah, because it's on the border. Well, it's, the south. Although most people in Switzerland speak German, people in Lugano mainly speak Italian, with many also speaking English and French. Lugano, the population is about 63,932.
About.
I do that all the time, but that's okay. It sits on the northern shore of the glacial Lake Lugano, surrounded by mountains. Lake Lugano is one of the most picturesque and peaceful you will ever see, and that is not an exaggeration.
True.
It is a town of parks and gardens, so Leanne's going to tell you about that. It's also good for sporting enthusiasts. You can hike to the summits of the nearby mountains. There's many mountain bike trails, and it's pretty big for windsurfing as well. Look, it was breathtaking.
It was.
It was, picture postcard perfect.
And there's 3 big mountains?
There are 3 big mountains there, and I'm glad you asked me that. There's a Monte Bre, which is B-R, a grave accent E, Monte San Salvatore, and Monte Generoso.
Okay.
Now, you're not going to believe this, but each of those mountains are serviced by a reliable, fast funicular.
Yeah, well, we've got a funicular story for another day as well, haven't we?
We do.
Yes. So don't spoil it.
But what I was going to say, so if you're not into the hiking, you can still go up and check out the mountain tops and enjoy the view. So because it's just beautiful.
Yeah, so I definitely would go back and do that. But as we're on a tour, we were a little bit constricted by time. But I just want to add in here though about the tour. One of the reasons I chose it was because I said we had a lot of free time, and in each place, a little bit of a walk around, and then, and then you can have your own time to explore, which is what I like to do. So, and we did in Lugano, didn't we?
We did on each of the stops.
Yeah. So we didn't follow
we didn't do the walking tours at all. We just sort of went off and did our own thing.
Yeah. Now, there's something else you want to tell me about the
there's 2 parts of the history.
Okay.
And they're 2, so the history...
I'm sure we're all waiting with bated breath.
Lugano was the object of continuous disputes between the sovereigns of Como and Milan until it became part of the old Swiss Confederation in 1513. Now, this is probably the more important. Okay, did I say important? Important part. In 1956.
Hang on. Just prepare yourself for this. Like, Lyle's so proud of himself that he found this. It's huge. It's breaking news, maybe.
Yes. Alert.
You heard it here first on Beach Travel Wine Podcast.
Yeah, because I don't think you'll hear it anywhere else.
What's Lugano famous for? Like, what? Tell me.
In 1956.
What happened in 1956?
Which is the year after I was born. Lugano hosted the first ever Eurovision Song Contest.
Stop it! Get out! Who would have known?
Now, what's even worse, the fact that I found that out, I then went on to find out what the name of the song was. And
well, the first thing Lyle said, he said, I found out something that, I'm going to tell in the podcast, and I'm not going to tell you. And I'm like, oh, whatever. It took him about, I don't know, an hour and a half, and he told me. And then the first question he said was, guess who won it? I'm like, Switzerland, of course.
Yeah, the song was Refrain. It was performed by Lise Asia.
Mm.
And yes, she was from Switzerland.
I'll tell you what I'll try and do. I will try and find a link to that song on Spotify and put it into the show notes. So make sure you go to beachtravelwine.com episode 58 to listen to that, because, it took Lyle's pretty impressed with himself. Well done.
I was very excited, and I, as Lan said, I was going to try and keep it secret until we actually did the podcast. But yeah, probably I think an hour and a half is probably stretching. Probably more like 55 minutes. I'm hopeless. It's like, I buy Lan a Christmas present. I've got to give it to her as soon as I have purchased it.
Now I know you know some more interesting facts about the lake, so we need to get on with that so I can actually tell people how nice it was. So what's the size of this beautiful lake?
Area is 48.7 square kilometres, so it's a big lake. 63% of it is in Switzerland. So how much do you reckon's in Italy? I know, 37%.
I wonder how they mark it, like an invisible line across the lake or something. That's quite interesting to me.
Yeah, so anyway, it's maximum depth is 288 metres or 945 feet.
It's a beautiful big lake. So
so now it's your turn to just do the description bit that you do so well.
Thank you, darling. Lake Lugano. How absolutely beautiful this was. I have to say, though, we did have a pretty nice day. It was sunny and there wasn't much wind, so the lake was just as still. But as soon as we had the chance, we got off the bus, we sort of said goodbye to the group, and we had to meet back at a certain point, at a fountain, which we'll tell you about in a minute too. But the first thing I could see was around the lake were some beautiful trees hanging over and some flowers and a little sort of looked like a sandy area, and I just wanted to go and walk through the park, which was my thing. Now the park, I can't remember what it was called, Parco Siani.
Siani, yep.
Yeah, and it's called that because two brothers had a property there.
Then they developed it, and they were two wealthy aristocrats and businessmen from Milano.
So the park itself is 63,000 square metres, and it's free to get in. It's huge, but we basically just did the walk all along through the park along the edge of the lake, and stopped for 750,000 photos along the way, and made Lyle take photos of me. And I've once again, beachtravelwine.com episode 58, just to see the beautiful photos of this lake. Like with the Lyle keeps wanting to say something.
Yes, and Leonita forced me to see how cold the water was.
Yeah,
and this may surprise you. It was really, really cold.
Well, I was going to tell people about that in a minute. But at the end, there's what they call the beach area. And, it's not sand, but, it's rocky. And yes, you did go down and you didn't put your feet in. You just sort of bent over and put your hand in. It's cold. But people were lying on the small rocks, like the beach area. And there were a couple of people swimming. And yeah, so
they'd have to be locals.
Well, mate, yes, and good luck to them. They probably don't get that many days that they can do that. But also at that beach end was like a little marina area as well, and a little restaurant. So, But to get to there, you walk along, and there's this beautiful balustrade that you walk past, and in some sides of the lake there's garden beds, sort of formal garden beds with mass plantings of flowers. And in other spots, there's just some random, beautiful irises and wildflowers. And then, of course, you've got the swans swimming around underneath the willow trees, which is hanging over the water as well. And the beautiful sort of not brick, but, the retaining wall that goes all the way around, which is obviously centuries old. And then you look across, through the willow trees and across the flowers and across the, jewel blue lake, and there's these forest green mountains just sort of seem like they're rising up out of the water. Just truly beautiful. And some lovely wrought iron gates that were obviously the entrance into the park area and the accommodation that was there.
There was
the estate,
hotel,
that was there. From obviously centuries ago as well. And then Interestingly, there's some modern art pieces now. There's like a great big shiny silver ball on one side. It's perfectly round. Then you go around the other side, and there's this big sort of chunk out of it, and that's pretty fascinating. And there's a statue of one of the Siani brothers there.
Yeah, he looks like he's a bit tired and emotional.
He does look like he's a bit tired and emotional. So yeah, I've got some pictures. So I've obviously got pictures of all of this park and the walk. Probably every 10 metres I stopped and took a photo. So I've included all of those. But it was just beautiful. We found a spot to sit and, watch. There's boats out on the lake as well. There's, some little sailing boats. And then there's also this place where you can hire little paddle boats, but they're not the normal paddle boats. They're in the shape of little racing cars. So I've got a photo of those as well. So you look like you're racing around the lake in a little red racing car, which is pretty cute as well. So that. And we had limited time, and we hadn't eaten anything, so I reluctantly decided we could go back out of the park, taking more photos as we were going. It was just beautiful. I think it was my favourite part of the whole lake area. Was just there. It was just beautiful.
And it was probably and what you said earlier too, the fact that it was such a perfect day.
And quiet,
weather-wise.
and peaceful.
It was much quieter than
peaceful. You could just walk and take photos, and you'd be the only one for a while. It was just really lovely. So thoroughly enjoyed the park there. It was just, and I didn't even know there was going to be that park. I thought we could walk around the lake a little bit.
And it's about a 10-minute walk from the centre.
The centre
of Lugano. So it's
so
not far.
And we went back to the centre of Lugano, and we had a bit of a wander there before we had before we had a drink. I think we did that first, and because once we walked back along the edge of the lake from the park, there's the big square where we had to meet with the big fountain and the beautiful old buildings and cafes. But before that, you could look up the streets and you just see the most funky looking shops. They were...
Yeah, the shop fit outs were unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And yeah. I've got some really nice photos of those. So check those out. Like the decorations outside of some of the cafes, the plants and there's one that has like a wrought iron horse carriage, which doesn't sound that fascinating, but it was just beautiful. And then there was another one where it just had all the most unusual antique-y, just really unusual stuff.
There was so much of it, but it was all placed perfectly.
Beautiful. And one that I always like to try to find the money shot in the photos I take. And I think there's one on the lake which has got purple irises on it with the willow tree in the lake in the background. That's probably my favourite photo. But the second one is I'm there outside a shop, and it's sort of got some flower decorations, and I take a photo sort of through the decorations of a Maserati sort of coming up
that's right.
The street,
that's right.
With the lake in behind. So check those out. They're like, I was pretty proud of those.
Yeah, I think there's probably plenty of dineros, plenty of money in Lugano.
Yeah,
because there was lots of very, very fancy cars. As Leanne said, the shop fit outs were just wonderful. We actually, which I'd never seen before, and I don't know why they have it, but there was a couple of portable butcher shops.
Yeah.
And
and cheese shops, and sort of all lined up in an area where they had some other markets.
Sort of like on the back of a van.
There's old and there's modern, and there's everything's just beautiful. Like even the mobile butcher looked impressive, right?
Yeah. Leanne actually asked the guy whether she could take a photo of his stand, I suppose you'd call it.
Yeah.
And he said, for €5, no problem.
And he sort of proceeded to, shake his head around.
Frizz himself up.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so we were running out of time, so we needed to get a drink. So we went to the main square, and I think you said earlier, but if not, just so people know, you can pay in Swiss francs or euro, can't you?
Yeah, but it's dearer in euro.
Of course. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, so, you can.
So we had a spritz there sitting in that beautiful plaza. The waiters are in their black and white sort of, uniforms, very formal and just glamorous, really.
Very, from my point of view, very pristine.
Very pristine, yes.
And the whole place was very, very pristine.
Yeah, so we absolutely loved Lugano, didn't we, Dom?
Yep.
Reluctantly, we had to leave Lugano, and so we got back on the coach, which interestingly this time wasn't too far away. And everyone thoroughly enjoyed visiting Lugano, and we didn't get the front seat this time, which I'm actually glad about, because the drive, so we drove firstly from Como to Lugano, across the border, and then this time we're driving back into Italy, but we're not going the same way. So we sort of going up around the top of the lake a bit more, and
and up the side of the mountains.
Yes, and up and down and up and down and up and down the side of the mountains,
and through more and more tunnels.
Yeah, like long tunnels, like kilometres and kilometres and kilometres of them.
Yeah, that was one of the things that surprised me. The engineering that must have taken place to just put the roads through.
Sure, yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. It's interesting, obviously, when you think about it, you knew there was going to be tunnels, but, I didn't really know anything about the drive and the tunnels, even though you don't see anything. Pretty cool to go one side, and then when you come out the other side of the tunnel, you're back in Italy. It's just, I thought that was pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, and you do go through, there is a border check for Italy. But I think the border guards were all in their uniforms, because Italy's a big thing for uniforms. Everybody's got a uniform.
But along the way, there's these houses, and they're houses because the garages, you can see them. So you drive in, and then the houses must be on the side of the cliffs. Like oh gosh, I couldn't live there.
Well, the funny thing is that more than once our coach had to stop and reverse back to let another coach go past. So the roads are so narrow that two coaches can't go past. And the most extraordinary thing I've ever seen in my life, we're going down this hill, and I'm not good with degree angles, but it was bloody steep.
Like a black run.
It was that's what Leanne said. It was like a black run on the ski field. And there's this tip truck parked right on the edge of a corner.
On a hairpin turn.
On a hairpin turn.
So the people behind him couldn't get past, and the people in front of him couldn't get past. I don't know what the hell he was doing.
But the most extraordinary thing was, he must have had it idling on handbrake, because he wasn't in the cabin. He was outside the cabin.
Well, he's
of the
obviously
truck.
trying to see how he's going to get round. And
the
other thing that was extraordinary was nobody's getting upset.
Yeah.
It obviously must happen, and it must happen to the best of them, and they're just all trying to make sure that this truck could get round. But then, amongst all of this craziness, like the big tourist buses and the tip trucks, because there's a lot of construction going on, they're trying to build a new tunnel, there's push bikes.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of these mad, either Italians or Swiss, out, going up and down these mountains in their bloody
lycra.
Yeah.
And their little helmets.
Around these buses, around these trucks, and oh man, it was great.
It was, I was going to say the doing word, but it was insane.
Yeah. It had me sort of on the edge of my seat there for a while. But eventually we got to the little Italian town where we were catching, there's like a shuttle ferry from one side of, we're back onto Lake Como now. We're back round. And there's a little Italian town which has like a ferry that you can drive onto as well as walk onto. Yep. And so we left the bus there and we headed across on the ferry with all the cars. And once again, you walk on this massive big ferry, and there's no don't stand there. The cars are coming on, and there's bikes coming on, and there's people walking on, and there's dogs coming on.
Yeah, you are expected to have common sense.
You are expected to have common sense. But even the railings, like, oh man. Anyway, it's not that far. We got across.
Yeah, it's the narrowest point of the
Lake Como.
Lake Como, yeah.
Okay, and so it takes you directly across to Bellagio. Oh, they don't say Bellagio; it's Bellagio.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Would there be 300-400 on the ferry that we went across on?
Probably.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I did get some photos, but it wasn't a pretty sight. All of us arriving with the cars and the people that were already at Bellagio, because by this time it's sort of early afternoon.
Yeah, it was about 1 or 2 o'clock, wasn't it? Something like that.
And the whole beautiful little town that I'd been so looking forward to seeing was just, basically busting at the seams with tourists, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, but Bellagio, like from a geographic point of view, it's like a promontory, and it's jutting out into Lake Como, and it's sort of it's almost like an island in the middle of the it is, I suppose, an island in the middle of Lake Como. So we were on the west side, and you could go across to the east side as well. But it's in just the most beautiful, beautiful position.
Yes, and we were able to find somewhere nice for lunch right on the lake, and I've definitely put pictures of that with this episode 58 on our website. And if you go to Instagram, Beach Travel Wine, and up the top where the highlights are, and go to Lake Como, you'll see this day trip will be at the beginning of the highlights. And, I did a lot of videos of, where we're talking about. So check that out. And, there's some beautiful sort of shops as well that, there's quite a few stairs that you can go up.
It's steep.
Yeah, we did a bit of a walk around, and then there's a villa with some gardens up the back, which we didn't get a chance to look at. But
yes, that's the terrace gardens of Villa Sir Belloni.
Oh well, it's dead.
Hang on, I think I did Sir Belloni. Yes, Sir Belloni, Villa Sir Belloni.
Have another go at it.
That's the 18th century terrace garden.
So. And there's a beautiful, at one end there's like the private yacht club, which obviously that's where the locals or the
rich and famous
go. But we went to a place called Hotel Florence, and it was nice. I had beautiful pasta. I think we both had the same pasta.
Yes, and that's in Piazza Massini Giuseppe.
I think he just likes pronouncing the Italian
words. I do, because I do, because my grandmother was Italian. So
anyway, so. Bellagio is as beautiful as everyone says it is.
Well, we had, just to give you an idea on the prices weren't that bad.
No, it wasn't too bad.
It was, we had 2 bowls of
pasta,
€22, and we had
each.
Yeah.
Okay, that's expensive. That's double what we're paying everywhere else.
Yeah. And a bottle of Lugano again. And that was €35. So yeah, it is expensive.
It is, but we probably won't go back.
But Bellagio's Bellagio. Oh, did I say that right?
Well, I don't know. Have another go.
Bellagio.
There we go. Bellagio. Of course.
Is like where the rich and famous go.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, all of Italy is busy, and this area in particular is probably the busiest we've seen, and it's probably didn't have any more people. It's just the same amount of people trying to get into a small space. So,
well, the normal population of Bellagio is 3,566, and it is only 77 acres or 31 hectares big. So everybody wants to go to visit Bellagio.
They do,
and
for a good reason.
And it is where it is.
Yes,
but it is probably too small for the amount of people that come. I would hate to have estimated how many people were there that day we were there.
However, that's just how Italy is at the moment,
sure.
And you have to find a way to either be okay with it or get there early, and we're going to tell you about that in
but in saying that, Lake Lugano, there was hardly anybody there.
Correct, yes. So, and we preferred that because of that reason. But Bellagio, you've got to go,
Sure.
And we've got the photos to prove it. And Beach Travel Wine, episode 58. 8. Before we tell you about our cruise on Lake Como back to Como, from Bellagio to Como, just want to give a shout out to a really nice guy called Martin, who sent me a review of our podcast, which I just think it's fabulous. Martin says, "Hi, we just got back from Spain and we had a great time. Your podcasts were a great source of inspiration, information and entertainment, and helped us get the best out of our 18-night trip. Thank you so much. Also, I just listened to the Verona podcast, which was fab. Thanks for all the hard work you put in producing them. P.S. Didn't know you could do ratings on Spotify, so I've learned how and given you 5 stars. Cheers from New Zealand." So cheers to you, Martin. So be like Martin. You know, if you're liking the show, if we've been helpful, please, and if you're enjoying Lyle's pronunciation exercises.
Oh, Leanne just had a go at me about my pronunciation. And
I didn't. I just said you say the same name a few times.
Yes, because I want the listeners to know exactly where and what it is.
Fair enough.
So next time, next time I might start spelling them.
Well, you did spell one with an accent or something. That was
a grave accent.
A grave accent, yes.
Yes.
So, you know, Lyle deserves 5 stars. So we know that most of you are listening either on Spotify or Apple, and you know that's worth going now, I reckon, and giving us a thumbs up, 5 stars. Give us a little review. That'd be be great, wouldn't it?
Or give us some recommendations of what we should be doing in Italy.
True, that's always handy, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so Bellagio, we've finished our little time in there, and so we were to meet back at the Navigazione, where you get on the boats, and there's...
How do you say that again?
There's hundreds of people there waiting, but because we're on a tour and we have our pre-booked tickets for the 4:30 ferry, we all line up and push, and we get ourselves on, and I sit up the front outside so I can get some nice photos and have a really good look around, because it's about a 2.5 hour boat ride.
Yeah, trip back, because it stops in basically all the ports all the way back. So
yeah, because then people can get off and people can get on, and more people seem to get on than get off. But the first place you go past is one of the most famous hotels in Tramezzo.
Tramezzo.
What is it?
Tramezzo.
It's a huge, big, grand hotel with, it's got orange umbrellas. It's got the pool out the front, and apparently we couldn't even get in the door to have a drink. But you can actually get off at Tramezzo. It's the town.
Yes.
And, get off there, have a lunch, walk around, whatever you want to do.
Well, it's where all the royalty and
stay in that hotel.
Stay in that particular hotel. Yeah. So it's pretty flash.
It is pretty flash. So so that's sort of the first stop. So you're sort of crisscrossing the lake, really, aren't you?
Yep.
Zigzagging.
Yep.
All the way down. And we stopped at some nice little places. One of my favourites was Nesso, which is just a little town, and it's got this gorgeous little bridge, and behind the bridge is a waterfall coming down.
Oh, that's right.
And a beautiful building, ivy covered, ancient building. I just thought that was really gorgeous. So got some nice photo of that. Check it out, Beach Travel Wine, episode 58. And what are some of the other places we went past?
Now, one of my favourites was Leno.
Oh, yes.
And Leno is where the villa...
Yes, here we go. Ready, everyone?
Balbianello.
Okay.
Is...
Just see the face he's pulling.
Do you want me to say it again?
Yes, please.
Villa del Balbianello. My grandmother...
Fabulous, whatever.
Donna would be very proud of me.
She would, yep.
So but that's beautiful. Yeah. We won't go into that because because we
actually went back to Leno on another day, and we got lots of information about that place, because besides the villa, there's also Princess Caroline's villa there.
Yes.
And when we say villas, that's what they call them, but they're like mansions, right? Yeah. So. Yeah, all over the lake.
And then Alexandra pointed out the Russian oligarch's mansion that's up for sale. And what was it? Was it 70 million?
Yeah.
70 million. Yeah. So that, and she also pointed out George's place.
Yes, and there's a photo of both of those on Beach Travel Wine.
And we're talking about George Clooney, of course.
Of course, yes.
And he only stays there during the summer, though.
Yeah.
So we missed him, or should I say,
he missed us.
He missed us. But look, there's all sorts of other towns. There's Menagio. They reckon that Varenna is supposed to be beautiful.
Varenna, yes.
There's Moltrano.
Yes, good.
And I'm not going to say the next one. You called it Chernobyl.
That's how I could pronounce it. But those little towns, we stopped in a few of those when we did another trip. But, one of them's where they were building all the ships and, another one had markets and, so ideally, if you had time, you could hop on and off this slow ferry that, takes you to all these places, or be like us and just sit back and enjoy it all. So, but don't forget to go to Instagram at Beach Travel Wine and go to the highlights for Lake Como and just check out, the videos I took of this day trip. So now the group of people that we met up with at the beginning of the tour, they got off at the boat building town, which is the closest one to Como.
Yeah.
And their coach was waiting there and they were going back to Milan. So it was a very long day for them. They'd left, probably 8:30 and they weren't going to get home till quite late as well. So, and the rest of us stayed on the ferry to the next stop or the last stop. You can't go any further than Como. And by then there wasn't too many people. A few had got off, and so we all got off then, didn't we? To go and find our way back to our accommodation. So,
well, we had dinner first.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can't.
We found we basically just found somewhere to have. I think I had a hamburger.
Yeah, that's right. It was that little restaurant right on the lake, though, and we had nice wine.
Yeah. It was nice, but it was quite. We did it quite quickly.
Yeah.
The food was great. The wine was good. Yeah. And then we caught a taxi back up to our accommodation.
So all in all, a big day, a good day. There were some real highlights, and certainly recommend if you're in Milan or Como to do the day trip, and I will put the link to it. But as Lyle said, you could get the train
from Como to
Lugano and see that area.
And do it yourself.
Yes, but then you're not going to do the part of the cruise, but you can on Lake Como, which you can do it another day, which our next podcast is going to be all about staying in Como, what you can do in Como, and about how you get around on the ferries.
Well, we did speak to some people that were driving around. They were
Australian
driving.
Couple. They were staying in the same place as us, and they had a car.
And they were driving everywhere.
Yeah, But they drove up to Lugano as well, and certainly you can do that. And he said there's some lovely little stops along the way, lots of vantage points with views and that sort of stuff, which would have been amazing.
Oh yeah, look, the actual, I suppose, the cruise when you come back, it's exactly what you think Como's going to be.
Stunning!
It's just stunning. It's the as Lance says, the villas with the mansions.
The little villas, and like each little place has got its own little church and its own little sort of area where the boats pull in, and there's people sitting along the waterfront, and the restaurants. It's and all of them you think, I should go and have a look here, I should go and have a look there. And I would recommend people do that because they're never as busy as the main one, like Bellagio, that people go to. So it was lovely coming back. And as I said, that little town Nesso with the waterfall and the bridge.
I forgot all about
that. So it was a lovely way to finish our day trip back. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and it sort of gives you a bit of a chance too, which is what we actually used it for, was a bit of a recce to see where we actually wanted to go and spend, a whole day just checking out Como, or Lake Como, should I say.
So I'm going to ask another favour of your listening. Surely, there's so many people we know that are going to Como, so Italy, planning to go to Italy. It seems like everyone wants to come to Italy. So if you know someone that's planning to come, please share our podcast with them. Now, our podcast that I talk about, or our website, beachtravelwine.com/Italy, it's not just podcasts. There's all the show notes with the links to the tours we do, some of the accommodation that we stay in, and all the photos. So it's a really good resource all about, traveling around Italy, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So check that out. Share
If
it.
we don't mind saying so ourselves.
Well, it's a lot of work goes into it, right?
So then, there is. That's true.
And so so just tell someone about the podcast. Tell them about the website. That we'd really appreciate you doing that for us. Now, before we finish, most importantly, Lyle, where was your favourite place to have a glass of wine on our day trip? And I bet you're going to take mine, you bugger. It's audio, not visual.
Yeah, I'm thinking Lake Lugano.
Yeah.
It's just
the little town of Lugano in the square there, having a beer.
It was just...
It wasn't a wine.
No, it was a beer, but it was just stunning. Yeah.
Okay. And therefore mine has to be at Hotel Florence at Bellagio on Lake Como, having our expensive pasta. But we were right on the water. We with all those people, we managed to find a beautiful spot in a restaurant under the grapevines, the joining together, and
sure.
that was pretty nice.
And we walked straight in.
Yeah,
didn't we?
Yeah.
We got a table right on the edge of the shore.
See, a lot of people go and they just want to drink, like as in they don't want to spend money on lunch, and they save the best tables for the people who are going to eat. So you say, yeah, we're going to eat.
Yeah, we were hungry too.
Yeah. Just one funny little story. There was a table of two girls next to us, and she ordered the tomato and mozzarella salad, and it came, and it was all slices of tomato and one big thing of the buffalo mozzarella in the middle, and she doesn't like tomato.
Yeah,
and the guy was like, "Oh, do you want something else?" She's like, "No, I knew you were going to say that, but I just want And her friend's saying, "But you don't like tomato." Like it was basically a whole plate of tomato. I was so annoyed because the tomatoes have been fabulous, haven't they?
Yeah.
Anyway.
They're special in Italy.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed our trip through into Switzerland and our cruise along on Lake Como. And yes, you were going to say something.
I did check out where St. Moritz was because before we came away, we were suggested that we might want to...
In Switzerland, St. Moritz, go there.
Go to Switzerland, and you can get there by train.
Okay.
But it's about, it's like 8.5 hours. On a fast train, it's about 5.5.
So it's not really a day trip,
It's not a day trip, but...
maybe do a couple of days
Yeah,
and come
they
back.
do say you can go there for lunch and really enjoy it, but I don't know how that'll work.
Helicopter?
Yeah, maybe.
All right. So it's arrivederci from me and...
Ciao, baby.